You wake before the city fully stirs. The first light is pale and cool. It slips between the shutters of your bedroom on the Palatine hill and rests across the floor in thin bands. Outside, the wind moves through cypress trees with a soft, continuous hush. You listen for a moment without rising. Rome is still mostly quiet. Only the distant cry of a rooster and the faint shuffle of servants beginning their work tell you that the day has begun. You are Gaius Julius Caesar, consul of Rome, a man whose name already travels farther than most voices can carry. Yet here, in this early hour, you are simply a body waking under linen, breathing the same morning air as any other citizen on the hill. You sit up slowly. The mattress is stuffed with wool and feathers, firm enough to keep the spine straight, soft enough to invite another hour of sleep. You do not take that hour. Duty has a way of arriving before appetite. Your feet find the cool mosaic. Tiny stones form a quiet pattern of waves and leaves beneath your toes. The floor holds the night's chill. You welcome it. It wakes the skin gently, without shock. A servant enters with a basin of water. He does not speak unless spoken to. You rinse your face and feel the cold water run down your wrists. The scent of olive oil from last night's lamp still hangs faintly in the air, mixed with the cleaner smell of plaster and stone. You walk to the window and open the shutter wider. Below you, the Palatine slopes toward the Forum. Rooftops catch the dawn in soft gold. Smoke rises from early kitchens in thin grey threads. The wind carries a little of that smoke up the hill, along with the dampness of the Tiber and the green scent of gardens waking in the shade. From here, Rome looks almost gentle. You know better. You know the streets will thicken with voices. You know the Senate will gather. You know that words spoken today may shape weeks, months, even years. Still, the hill itself remains calm. Cypress needles whisper. A dove settles on a nearby roof tile and does not hurry. You pause, breathe. The air is cool enough to make your chest feel open. You draw it in and let it go. In this moment, there is no debate, no petition, no rival's careful smile. There is only light climbing the marble of neighboring houses and the soft pressure of wind against your cheek. A slave lays out a simple morning tunic of fine white wool. You dress without rush. The fabric settles over your shoulders like a familiar hand. Outside the door of the cubiculum, the atrium waits in soft shadow, its impluvium reflecting a square of pale sky. Water from last night's rain still rests there, quiet and clear. You step into that quiet. The household begins around you without noise. Soft footsteps, the scrape of a broom on stone. Someone adjusts a lamp that has burned low. These small sounds are the true beginning of a Roman day for a man of your rank. Not drums, not trumpets, but the careful work of people who keep a great house breathing. You take a piece of bread dipped lightly in wine and honey. The sweetness is mild. The bread is dense and good. You eat standing near the atrium pool, watching ripples move when a breeze touches the surface. Somewhere beyond the walls, a cartwheel turns on stone. The city is waking. You finish the bread and wipe your fingers. Then you look once more toward the open shutter and the hill beyond. Today, you will walk down into the heart of the Republic. Today, you will sit among senators in the Curia. Today, your voice will join the long conversation of Rome. But for now, the wind is enough. You close your eyes for one more breath of cypress and cool stone. Then you open them, and the day begins in earnest. You leave the house while the light is still soft. The street that leads down from the Palatine is paved with worn stone. Your sandals find the familiar dips and ridges of countless footsteps. The wind of the hill gives way, little by little, to the warmer breath of the lower city. With every turn of the path, Rome grows louder. At first, it is only a murmur, a water seller calling gently, two women speaking near a doorway, a mule's hooves tapping a slow rhythm. Then the murmur thickens. By the time you reach the steeper descent toward the Forum, the city has found its morning voice. People notice you. Some step aside with a respectful nod. Others continue their work, but glance as you pass. You are not a stranger here. Your face is known. Your name is known. Still, you walk as if the street belongs to everyone, because in a way, it does. Rome's power lives not only in marble halls, but in these crowded lanes of bread, gossip, and errands. A baker's shop opens its shutters. Warm air spills out, rich with grain and yeast. You catch the scent and let it settle in your chest. Beside the shop, a boy sweeps ash from a threshold. Farther on, a scribe arranges writing tablets on a small table, ready for clients who need letters written or contracts copied. You move through it all without hurry. The crowd parts and closes again behind you like water. Tunics of undyed wool brush past togas of brighter white. A freedman carries a basket of figs. A senator's client waits near a corner, hoping for a morning greeting that might later become a favor. Rome runs on these soft exchanges as much as on law. You pause near a fountain, where water spills into a stone basin. The sound is clear and continuous. You rinse your fingers and watch the surface tremble. Around you, voices rise and fall. Someone laughs quietly. Someone argues about the price of oil. None of it is sharp. All of it is life. Educational history lives here in plain sight. The Forum is not only a marketplace of goods, it is a marketplace of status, memory, and civic habit. Temples stand above shops. Political notices appear on painted boards. Citizens come to see and be seen. Even this walk down from the Palatine is part of the performance of public life. You continue. The street widens. Ahead, columns catch the strengthening sun. The Forum opens like a stone stage, still half in shadow, half in gold. You feel the change in the air. More space, more voices, more expectation. A lictor waits near the edge of the crowd, fasces resting against his shoulder. The bundle of rods is a quiet reminder of magisterial authority. Today, those symbols attend you. You do not need to raise your voice for the path to clear. Presence itself is enough, yet you keep your pace gentle. You notice a woman selling garlands of early flowers. You notice pigeons turning on the roof of a basilica. You notice how the morning light softens even the hardest edges of marble. These details keep the mind from racing ahead into debate. They keep the body in the present street, the present breath, the present soft press of Rome around you. A client approaches, head slightly bowed, and offers a brief greeting. You return it with calm courtesy. Another follows, then another. The salutatio of a powerful man can stretch for hours at the house door, but here, in the street, it becomes a moving ribbon of recognition. You acknowledge each person without stopping long. The Senate will not wait forever. Still, you do not rush. Rushing is for men who fear time. You have learned to wear time the way you wear a toga. Carefully, deliberately, with folds that look effortless. The murmur of the Forum grows fuller now, shoes on stone, soft calls, the distant scrape of a cart. Somewhere a flute practices a thin morning phrase and then falls silent. You walk toward the place where your household attendants wait with the garments of office. The day is gathering around you like cloth. You breathe once more in the open air of the street and feel the city settle into your bones. Warm, busy, ancient, and strangely soothing in its continuous human hum. You step into a quieter room near the edge of the Forum complex, where attendants wait with the garments of the day. The air here is stiller. Stone walls soften the street noise until it becomes a distant cushion of sound. A single lamp burns with a low, steady flame. Morning light enters through a high opening and lays a pale rectangle across the floor. This is where status becomes cloth. The Toga Praetexta waits, folded with care. It is white wool of fine quality, bordered with a band of purple. That purple edge is not mere decoration. In Rome, color speaks. The Praetexta marks high office, the dignity of magistrates, the visible language of civic rank. As consul, you wear it as naturally as breath, yet you never forget what it means. An attendant lifts the fabric. You raise your arms and let the soft weight settle. The wool is warm from being held near the lamp. It smells faintly of clean fleece and the cedar chest where it was stored. Layer by layer, the folds are arranged over your left shoulder, across the body, and down in the long, deliberate drapery that Roman eyes know how to read. You stand still while the work is done. There is a quiet intimacy to dressing for power. No trumpets, no shouting, only hands smoothing cloth, checking the fall of the border, adjusting the way the toga sits so that you may walk, sit, and speak without fighting the garment. A well-draped toga is a lesson in balance. Too loose, and it slips. Too tight, and it constrains. Like politics, it asks for attention, without panic. You look down at the purple line along the edge. In earlier centuries, such distinctions helped a citizen see at a glance who carried public responsibility. The Republic loves symbols because symbols travel farther than explanations. A border of purple can silence a room before a single sentence is spoken. A second attendant brings the senatorial shoes, dark and carefully made. You step into them and feel the leather close around your feet. Then comes a final check of the tunic beneath, the clean line of the neck, the composure of the whole figure. You catch your reflection in a polished bronze mirror. The face looking back is yours, sharp, intelligent, accustomed to scrutiny. But in this soft room, with cloth still warm and the lamp whispering, you do not feel like a statue. You feel human. A man preparing to enter a chamber of men. A consul who must listen as well as lead. You pause. Breathe. Outside, Rome continues. Inside, there is only the quiet ritual of readiness. You flex your fingers once, feeling the freedom of movement through the folds. You turn slightly to test the drape. It holds. Good. Someone offers a small cup of watered wine. You take a sip. The taste is light and clean. It clears the mouth after the morning's honeyed bread. Then you hand the cup back and nod your thanks. History, lived from the inside, is often made of such ordinary gestures. Empires remember battles and laws. Bodies remember the weight of wool, the coolness of stone floors, the soft instructions of attendants who know exactly how a consul should appear before the Senate. You walk a few paces across the room to feel the full movement of the toga. The fabric whispers against itself. The purple border catches the lamplight and then releases it. You are ready. Beyond the doorway, the Forum waits with its bright noise and its watching eyes. Beyond the Forum, the Curia waits with its benches and its long memory. You straighten your shoulders, not rigidly, only enough to let the garment and the office settle together. Then you step toward the threshold, carrying silence with you like a second cloak. The Forum receives you like a wide stone river. Light is stronger now. It brightens the facades of temples and the long flanks of basilicas. Shadows shorten under colonnades. The air smells of dust warmed by sun, of incense drifting from a nearby shrine, of bodies and bread, and the faint metallic tang of coins changing hands. You walk at an unhurried pace. Around you, Rome performs itself. Orators practice in open spaces, their voices rising and falling in measured waves. Merchants arrange goods beneath awnings. Citizens gather near the rostra, where public speeches shape opinion as surely as votes shape law. You know this ground. Every paving stone has watched generations of ambition pass. Yet today, you do not hurry towards spectacle. You move through the forum as through a familiar garden of marble and human sound. To your left rises the Temple of Saturn, keeper of the state treasury in its ancient associations. To your right, other sacred facades hold their quiet authority even amid commerce. Religion and politics share the same air here. A man may buy olives and then look up into the calm face of a god. Your lictors clear a path without harshness. People step aside. Some bow their heads. A few call your name with soft enthusiasm. You acknowledge them with a slight lift of the hand, nothing more. The toga's purple border does the rest of the speaking. You pause near a column and let the scene settle into you. A group of senators stands in conversation beneath a portico, white and purple, catching the light. A messenger runs past with tablets clutched to his chest. A child points upward at a bronze statue and asks a question you cannot hear. The forum teaches endlessly who stands where, who waits, who is received, who is left at the edge of the circle. You continue toward the Curia. The Senate House does not shout its importance. It simply stands, solid and purposeful, a place where Rome's elite gather to counsel, argue, and decide. In the late Republic, that gathering carries enormous weight. The fortunes of provinces, the balance of alliances, the tone of public life, all can shift inside those walls. You feel the approach in your body before you name it. The crowd's murmur seems to thin near the entrance, as if even busy Rome understands that a different kind of quiet begins here. A pair of older senators greet you with careful warmth. You exchange a few words about the morning, about the agenda ahead, about nothing that needs to be sharp yet. Courtesy is a lubricant in Roman politics. It keeps the machinery from grinding too loudly too soon. You glance once more across the open forum. Sunlight rests on the tops of columns. A thin haze softens the farther roofs. Somewhere a vendor calls the price of fresh cheese. Somewhere else a priest's attendant carries sacred implements with solemn care. All of it continues while you prepare to step out of the public river and into the chamber of deliberation. You let your gaze travel slowly, the way a tired traveler looks at a landscape he loves. The rostra stands where public voices shape the mood of the people. Basilicas offer shade and legal business in their long halls. Statues of ancestors and honored men keep silent watch, bronze faces catching soft light. In this single open space, commerce, religion, memory, and politics share the same dust. You breathe. The air in the forum is warmer now, but a soft draft moves between buildings and cools your face. You take that coolness with you. A pigeon lands nearby, tilts its head, and departs again without alarm. Even the birds seem to understand the unhurried rhythm of mid-morning Rome. Then you turn toward the entrance of the Curia, where stone thresholds wait to change the sound of the world. Behind you, the city keeps murmuring. Before you, a quieter Rome begins. You cross the threshold of the Curia, and the city falls away. Not completely. A thin echo of the forum still reaches through the doorway, But inside, stone thickens the air into something slower. Your footsteps change pitch. The toga's soft whisper becomes clearer against the hush. Light enters from high openings and lies in pale bands across the floor, dust floating gently within each beam. You pause just inside. This is the Senate House, the Curia, where Rome's assembled fathers meet. The space is ordered and serious without being cold. Benches wait in long ranks. Walls hold the memory of countless sessions. Here, words are tools, as real as any tool of bronze or iron. You move forward at a calm pace. The temperature is milder than the sunlit forum. Cool stone keeps the morning's heat at bay. Somewhere, an attendant adjusts a door. Somewhere, another senator's sandals scrape softly as he finds his place. These small sounds are welcome. They remind you that this hall is alive, not a tomb of marble. You let your eyes travel the room. In the late Republic, the Senate is not a modern parliament with fixed parties, but it is a powerful council of experienced men. Many have held magistracies. Many command wealth, clients, and reputation. Together, they advise on war and peace, on provinces and honors, on the tone of public order. Their authority rests as much on custom and dignity as on any single written rule. You feel that dignity in the air itself. It is not loud. It does not need to be. Prestige in Rome often prefers a lowered voice. A colleague greets you with a nod. Another makes space along a bench. You return their courtesies and continue toward your place. As consul, your presence carries procedural weight. You may summon, propose, guide the order of speaking. Yet even a consul listens. The Senate is a body of many minds, and today those minds will turn toward the business of the res publica, the public thing, the shared concern of Rome. You sit for a moment before the session fully gathers, simply to inhabit the room. The bench is firm. The wool of your toga settles around you in soft folds. You rest your hands lightly and look toward the open center where speakers will stand. The light there is a little brighter, as if the building itself knows where attention should gather. You pause. Breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The breath smells faintly of stone, oil, and the clean wool of many togas. Outside, Rome rushes. In here, time stretches. Debates may last for hours, but they begin in this quiet assembly of bodies learning one another's mood. More senators enter. The soft room murmur grows, not crowd noise, but the careful talk of men who know that walls have ears and history has a long memory. Someone mentions a letter from a province. Someone else speaks of a temple repair. Ordinary threads, soon to be woven into formal discussion. You watch without straining. There is a kind of ASMR to this place if you let yourself notice it. The hush between sentences, the rustle of cloth, the distant forum reduced to a cushion of sound, the way light moves so slowly across stone that you can almost hear it. You straighten slightly as the session's beginning approaches. The Curia has received you. Now you will receive the day within it, patiently, attentively, with the calm of a man who understands that power, at its best, can sound like quiet conversation in a room built for listening. You are seated now among the senators. On either side, men of rank settle into their places. Some are older, faces lined by years of command and negotiation. Some are younger, still polishing the art of being seen, without seeming eager. White wool surrounds you like a pale field. Purple borders mark those who hold or have held high office. The collective effect is soft and solemn. The session opens with familiar order. Formalities move like a slow tide. Names, acknowledgements, the framing of matters to be considered. You listen as much to the rhythm as to the content. Roman public life loves procedure because procedure cools passion. It gives ambition a channel. It turns raw disagreement into something that can be spoken without tearing the room apart. A senator rises to address a question of provincial administration. His voice is measured. He speaks of grain, of distances, of the need for steady oversight. You follow the argument easily. You have walked roads in far provinces. You have seen how Rome's decisions, made in this quiet hall, arrive months later as food, law, or relief in places most citizens will never visit. That is one of the Senate's quiet truths. It governs by imagination, as well as by decree. Men here must picture harbors they have never smelled, winters they have never felt, peoples whose languages they do not speak. Responsibility stretches farther than the eye. You shift slightly on the bench, letting the toga settle again. Around you, attention has different textures. One man leans forward, intent. Another gazes toward the light, as if weighing every word against private calculations. A third closes his eyes for a moment, not in sleep, but in concentration. No one shouts. The atmosphere remains soft room calm, even when the subject turns important. You notice the small sounds again. A cough, carefully muffled. The faint creak of a sandal. The whisper of a stylus on a wax tablet as a secretary notes a point. These details keep the long sitting human. They remind you that history is made by bodies that grow warm, thirsty, and tired, even in the service of the state. A second speaker rises. He answers the first with courteous disagreement. In Rome, courtesy can be a blade wrapped in silk, but today the tone stays genuinely mild. He suggests a different approach to the same provincial concern, more local consultation, clearer reporting back to the city. You find yourself nodding almost imperceptibly. Good counsel often lives in the space between two careful speeches. You pause within yourself. Breathe. The air is still. Dust turns slowly in a shaft of light. For a moment, you are aware of your own heartbeat, steady and quiet beneath the folds of cloth. Outside this chamber, markets bargain and carts rattle. Inside, Rome thinks. Someone near you murmurs a brief aside about the hour. Midday is approaching. The light in the high openings has shifted. You can feel the city warming beyond the walls. Yet the Senate remains in its pocket of cool stone and measured speech. You look along the benches and feel a complicated tenderness for this gathering. These men are rivals, allies, obstacles, teachers. Together, they form one of the Republic's central instruments. Flawed, ambitious, often brilliant, sometimes vain, and still capable, on a good day, of seeking the public good. A third matter is introduced. Repairs to a public building, funding, timelines, practical, grounded, the kind of work that keeps a city standing long after orators are forgotten. You listen, and the listening itself becomes restful. There is peace in competent detail. Your turn to speak will come later. For now, you remain among them, one consul in a field of white and purple, breathing the soft air of deliberation, letting the morning's business move like a calm river around your still attention. The session pauses, and you step out into midday air. The change is immediate. After the soft room hush of the Curia, the open world feels wider and brighter. A breeze moves through a nearby courtyard and lifts the edge of your toga. Sunlight rests on stone, warm enough to hold heat in its surface. You stand still and let the wind touch your face. Rome's midday is not frantic here. It is expansive. An attendant brings a simple plate. bread, olives, a little cheese, a few slices of fruit. Nothing heavy. Senators often eat lightly during long days of business. The body thinks better when it is not burdened. You take the bread first, tearing it slowly, and taste the honest flavor of grain. You eat without hurry. Olive oil shines faintly on the fruit. The cheese is mild and fresh. A sip of watered wine clears the palate. Around you, other men take similar pauses. Some speaking softly, some standing alone with their thoughts, all of them briefly released from the formal posture of debate. The wind carries sounds from farther off, a distant cart, a bird's short call, the muted life of streets beyond the political core. You close your eyes for a moment and feel the air move across your eyelids. Cooler currents slide between warmer ones. The city breathes, and you breathe with it. This pause is part of governance too. Rome understands ritual rest even when it does not name it that way. Temples observe sacred intervals. Meals mark the day. The human mind, like a horse, works longer when given shade and water. You learned this in camps and in cities alike. Endurance is not only muscle, it is pacing. You walk a few steps along the courtyard edge. From here, you can see a strip of sky, pale and high. A cypress beyond a wall leans slightly in the breeze. Somewhere, water drips from a fountain spout into a basin with a soft, repeating note. You let that note settle your thoughts. The morning's speeches return to you in quieter form. Provincial oversight, building repairs, the tone of the chamber. None of it needs solving in this exact second. Clarifying comes later. Now there is only bread in the hand and wind on the skin. A colleague approaches and offers a brief, friendly remark about the heat. You answer with equal ease. No strategy, no performance, just two men sharing the simple fact of a warm Roman day. Then he moves on, and you are alone again, with the plate and the air. You finish the fruit and wipe your fingers on a cloth. Educational history often forgets these intervals. It remembers laws passed and enemies confronted. It forgets the consul standing in a breeze, tasting olives, listening to water, preparing his mind the way a musician warms his hands before playing. You look once toward the entrance that leads back to the Curia. Soon the benches will fill again. Soon voices will rise in careful sequence. Soon you will speak, but you do not rush the return. You take one more full breath of open air, deep, slow, quiet, and feel your shoulders soften beneath the wool. A leaf skitters lightly across the courtyard stone, pushed by the same breeze that cools your neck. You watch it travel and stop. Small motions like this keep the mind from tightening too early. There will be time enough for formal speech. There will be time enough for the weight of office. Right now, there is fruit sweetness fading on the tongue and sunlight resting harmlessly on marble. You roll your shoulders once, gently, under the toga's folds. The wind brushes past a final time. Then you turn, calm and ready, toward the soft room world waiting inside. Back inside the Curia, debate resumes, like a low tide returning. The room receives you with its familiar coolness. You take your place. Cloth rustles as others settle. A speaker stands and begins with a courteous preface, giving honor to the House before turning to the matter at hand. This soft climate of debate is itself a Roman art. Sharp minds need not use sharp edges every time. The subject concerns public order and the care of the city's sacred calendar, festivals, processions, the quiet machinery that keeps Roman time sacred and civic at once. Religion in Rome is woven through daily government. Omens are noted. Rites are protected. The gods are given their due so that human plans may proceed with confidence. You listen closely. The speaker's voice is even. He argues for careful funding and clear responsibility among those who oversee ritual spaces. Another senator answers, suggesting a simpler method of accountability. A third adds a practical note about seasonal timing. No one interrupts. The conversation builds the way good masonry builds, stone upon stone, checked for balance. You feel your own attention deepen. This is the atmosphere you trust most in public life. Not silence, not clamor, but a shared willingness to think aloud without haste. In such a climate, even disagreement can feel almost restful. It becomes a form of collective breathing. Your eyes rest on the band of light across the floor. It has moved since morning. Afternoon is advancing, soft and inevitable. Dust still floats inside the beam, tiny and bright. You watch it for a moment between sentences, then return to the words. The mind can hold both, beauty and business, sensation and statecraft. A younger senator speaks with slightly more heat. He cares deeply about the dignity of a particular temple precinct. His feeling is genuine. An older colleague answers him with gentleness, affirming the concern while guiding it back toward workable measures. You appreciate the older man's tone. Rome survives not only through force of will, but through the skill of cooling a room without extinguishing its fire. You pause, breathe. Your turn approaches. You can sense it in the way a few faces glance toward you, in the slight opening of conversational space that etiquette creates for a consul's voice. You do not tense. You gather your thoughts the way you gathered your toga earlier, fold by fold, with care. What will you say? Not a storm of rhetoric, not a performance meant only to dazzle. Something clearer, something that honors the patience of the house and the needs of the city. You have always known that persuasion, at its best, feels like relief. Listeners should leave more ordered than they arrived. Around you, the soft room sounds continue, a quiet clearing of the throat, the tiny tap of a ring against wood, the distant forum pressed into near silence by thick walls. These are the textures of power when power chooses composure. The current speaker concludes and sits. A brief stillness follows. In that stillness, the Curia seems to lean forward without moving. Expectation is a gentle pressure now, not a threat. You rest your hands on your knees, feel the wool under your palms, and prepare to rise. The fabric is warm from your body. The bench is steady. Your breath finds an easy depth, the kind used by speakers who know that panic helps no one and clarity helps everyone. You recall, without strain, the points you wish to offer. Respect for sacred custom, practical repair, visible accountability. 3 simple pillars, enough to hold a modest roof over the discussion. You do not need more. The debate has made a path. You are ready to walk it with a calm voice. You rise. The movement is unhurried. The toga settles into new folds as you stand. Faces turn toward you with the quiet attention of men who understand ceremony. You take a breath and feel the chamber, waiting. Not hungrily, just openly, like a shoreline, waiting for a slow wave. You begin to speak. Your voice is low and clear. You do not push it. Stone walls help carry sound, and a consul's words need less force than people sometimes imagine. You thank the previous speakers. You acknowledge the care already shown for sacred spaces and civic order. Courtesy first. In Rome, courtesy is not weakness. It is architecture. Then you turn to the substance. You speak of continuity, how festivals and public rites do more than please tradition. They stitch the calendar together. They give ordinary citizens shared markers in the year. They remind the city that it is older than any one man's ambition. A republic, you suggest gently, is kept healthy by such shared rhythms as much as by laws and armies. Senators listen. You can see it in the stillness of their shoulders, in the way one man nods once, slowly. You continue with a practical proposal. Clearer lines of responsibility. Modest funds directed where repair is truly needed. Reports returned to the Senate so that sacred care does not become invisible neglect. Nothing dazzling, everything usable. As you speak, you feel the old pleasure of language used well, not the pleasure of domination, the quieter pleasure of shaping air into sense. Words leave your mouth and become thought in other minds. That transmission is ancient magic, older than any temple on the Forum. Oratory in Rome is a civic craft, trained from youth, polished in courts and assemblies. Today, you use it the way a careful craftsman uses a fine tool, with respect for the material. You pause between points. Those pauses matter. They let meaning settle. They give listeners room to agree without feeling cornered. Soft pacing is not only for sleep stories, it is also for persuasion that hopes to last beyond the hour. A shaft of light rests near your feet. You notice it without losing the thread. The body remains part of the speech. Breath, stance, the calm face that tells the room there is no emergency, only a decision to be made wisely. You conclude by returning the matter to the House, not as a command, as an invitation to shared judgment. The Senate likes to feel its own dignity reflected back to it. You know this. You honor it. Then you sit, and the soft rustle of your toga is the only applause you need. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence is approving in its own restrained way. Then another senator rises to support the outline of your proposal with a small refinement. Another asks a clarifying question. The debate continues, but the temperature remains gentle. Your words have cooled and clarified the air. You rest your hands again and listen. Inside your chest, something eases. Speaking well is work, even when it sounds effortless. Now the work is done for this stretch of the day. You have added your voice to the long conversation of Rome, and the chamber has received it without storm. Outside, the afternoon softens. Inside, the session moves toward its later business with the same unhurried dignity. A few more remarks pass through the chamber like mild weather. You listen without clinging. Your contribution has been made. Now the House may shape it further. That too is a Roman virtue, to speak and then allow others room. You remain present, calm, and quietly satisfied, a consul among senators, breathing the soft room air of a republic thinking aloud. The wool at your wrist brushes the bench. A distant sound from the Forum arrives as little more than a hush. You let it all be enough. When the session ends, you step out into the portico. Afternoon light lies along the columns in long, warm bands. The air is milder than midday, touched by a breeze that moves through the colonnade with a low, continuous hush. Beyond the shade, the Forum's murmur returns, thicker now with late business, softer somehow after hours of indoor quiet. You walk slowly. Other senators emerge in twos and threes. Some continue the debate in private tones, testing ideas now that the formal chamber no longer holds them. Some speak of supper, of letters waiting at home, of a client who must be received before dusk. The life of rank does not stop when the Curia empties. It simply changes rooms. A colleague falls into step beside you. He compliments the clarity of your proposal, then offers a minor practical concern about timing. You listen and nod. This is how Roman decisions often finish ripening, not only in official speech, but in these walking conversations under stone and sky. The portico is a second senate, informal and useful. You thank him and let the talk drift into easier waters. Around you, the crowd murmur of the forum rises and falls. A vendor packs away unsold goods. A group of citizens argues cheerfully about a chariot team. A pair of priests crosses the open space with calm purpose. You feel yourself returning to the wider city, yet still wrapped in the afterglow of deliberation. You pause at a column and rest your palm against it. The marble is sun-warm on the outer face, cooler on the shaded side. That simple contrast steadies you. Power can make a man abstract to himself. Touch returns him to the body. You are not only a name in other people's mouths, you are also this hand on stone, this breath in late light, this quiet satisfaction after work well spoken. Someone approaches with a petition. You receive him courteously, hear the outline of his request, and promise consideration through the proper channels. He leaves with hope, carefully held. You do not make vows you cannot keep. In public life, restraint is a kindness. The portico begins to thin. Senators disperse toward homes on the hills, toward baths, toward further meetings in private houses, where politics continues, over wine and olives. You remain a little longer, watching the forum's shadows lengthen. Temples take on a gentler color. The day's brightness softens at the edges. You think of the morning's wind on the Palatine, the dressing of the toga, the hush of the Curia, the sound of your own voice made calm for the sake of the city. A full arc already, and evening has not yet arrived. A pair of clients waits near the steps, hopeful but patient. You acknowledge them with a brief promise of later attention. They accept this with the understanding of people who live inside Rome's long chains of favor and duty. Nothing harsh passes between you, only the soft currency of recognition. A lictor waits at a respectful distance. You give a small sign that you are ready to move on. The path toward the baths, and then home, begins to form in your mind like a quiet map. First, the cleansing heat and water. Then, the return uphill. Then night. Even the thought of that sequence feels like a lullaby of practical steps. But for this moment, you stay inside the soft architecture of the portico. Columns, voices, warm air, and let the Senate day loosen its hold, one breath at a time. The murmur of the forum becomes almost musical. You listen until your pulse matches its slower afternoon tempo. Evening brings you to the baths. The transition is tender. After stone benches and public speech, the bathing complex offers heat, water, and the permission to be simply a body again. You enter through rooms that grow warmer by degrees. The air thickens with steam and the clean scent of oil. Somewhere a small brazier or hippocaust mouth gives a low fire crackle, a domestic sound inside a grand civic pleasure. You move without haste. First, the warmer rooms, where sweat rises gently and muscles loosen. Conversations around you are soft, business finished, gossip mild, laughter rare and low. Romans of many ranks meet in bathing culture, though spaces and hours can separate the very rich from the rest. For you, the bath is less display than recovery. The consul's day dissolves in heat. An attendant oils your skin and scrapes it clean with a strigil in long, careful strokes. The sensation is precise and soothing. Dirt and wear of the forum leave you. What remains is warmth and the slow beat of your pulse. You pause at the edge of a pool. The water receives you with a quiet embrace. Sound dulls. Light from lamps trembles on the surface in soft gold. You float your hands and feel the day's arguments drift farther away, as if they belonged to another man in another room. They do not vanish. They simply lose their urgency. Breathe. Steam enters your lungs and leaves them easier. The fire crackle continues at the edge of hearing, companionable as a hearth at home. You think of the Palatine waiting above the city, of shutters that will close against the night, of a bed that knows your shape. After the baths, you dress again, in cleaner garments for the return. The walk home is cooler. Evening air touches damp hair and freshly oiled skin. Lamps begin to appear in doorways. The city's murmur turns intimate. Fewer carts, more voices near thresholds. The occasional scent of cooking herbs and bread. You climb toward the Palatine with a pleasant heaviness in the limbs, the good tiredness of a day fully used. At the house, soft light waits. A hearth fire speaks in small crackles. The atrium pool reflects lamplight like a dark mirror. Household voices stay low, matching your mood. You eat a simple evening meal. More bread, a little fish or vegetables, wine softened with water. Nothing that demands attention. Just nourishment and the comfort of familiar bowls. You sit for a while near the fire. Flames lean and recover. Shadows move on the wall like slow dancers. You review the day without sharp judgment. The morning wind, the forum's murmur, the purple border of the toga, the Curia's hush, your own calm speech, the Portico's aftertalk, the bath's release. A consul's life lived once through the senses. A servant places a fresh lamp nearby and withdraws. The new flame steadies quickly. In its glow, the household god's little shrine looks peaceful. The offerings of the day already made. Romans keep such quiet companions of stone and ritual close to home. Tonight, their presence feels like another kind of soft room around your thoughts. Outside, Rome settles. A distant dog barks once, and then thinks better of it. The hill grows private. Inside, the fire keeps a quiet watch, crackling in small, irregular phrases that ask nothing of you. You warm your hands briefly, though you are not cold. The gesture itself is comfort. You rise at last, stretch gently, and move toward the sleeping room where night is already gathering in the corners. Your steps are slow on the mosaic. Each one says the same thing. The public day is finished. The day has been long. Sleep now is the final duty, and the gentlest. Night settles over the Palatine. You lie down beneath linen and feel the mattress accept your weight. The house has grown almost silent. Somewhere a last shutter is fastened. Somewhere a lamp is pinched out. Then even those small duties end, and the hill belongs to darkness, cool air, and the thin music of crickets beyond the walls. You leave one window slightly open. Through it comes the night, a soft wind in the cypress, the distant suggestion of the city breathing more slowly, and the steady, delicate chorus of insects in gardens and grassy edges. No trumpets, no forum, only Rome at rest. You close your eyes. Images of the day return, but they return gently, as if wrapped in wool. Dawn light on mosaic, the murmur of streets, the purple border arranged across your shoulder, columns in the forum, the Curia's cool stone, voices rising and falling like weather. Your own words, calm in the chamber, the Portico's warm shade, steam and fire crackle at the baths, the climb home, the hearth. Each image softens as you name it inwardly. You are still Julius Caesar, consul, senator, a man whose choices matter. But night does not ask you to choose. Night asks you only to breathe. In, out. The chest rises. The chest falls. The body remembers that it is animal as well as political, that sleep is older than any law of the Republic. Outside, a cricket sings near the garden wall. Another answers farther off. Their rhythm is irregular and soothing, a living metronome for drifting thought. You listen without effort. Listening becomes sinking. Sinking becomes ease. Educational facts, if they still float through the mind, arrive as comfort rather than lessons. That Romans lived by hills and forums, by togas and tablets, by baths and household gods. That the Senate was a room of human voices. That power once wore wool and walked on stone in sandals. That even the most public life ended, most nights, in a private dark. You turn slightly onto your side. The linen is cool against your arm. The pillow holds the faint scent of clean fabric and the day's last trace of bath oil. Muscles along your back lengthen and forget their vigilance. The jaw softens. The hands uncurl. Even the skin around your eyes releases a tension you had not noticed you were holding. Breathe. Again. The wind moves once through the cypress and then stills. Distant Rome is only a rumor of quiet now. Perhaps a night watchman walks somewhere far below. Perhaps a late cart finds its final alley. None of it concerns you. You feel sleep approaching the way dusk approached the forum. Gradually, kindly, without announcement. There is nothing left to prove in this hour. Tomorrow will bring new petitions, new speeches, new folds of the Toga Praetexta. Tomorrow the Curia may fill again, with careful debate. Tomorrow the city will lift its murmur like a familiar blanket. But tomorrow is not here. Tomorrow has no claim on this bed, this breath, this soft surrender. Here there is only the Palatine under moon and star, the open whisper of night air, and your body growing heavier with every soft breath. The crickets seem closer now, or perhaps you have simply become quieter, able to hear what was always singing. You let go of the day. You let go of the chamber. You let go of your name. Just enough to rest. Crickets continue their small, endless song, and you sleep.